The Game Awards is just another way for mega corporations to further advertise their mainstream products, because they know the average consumer is not going to do any research and is just waiting with their mouth open for stuff to be shoved in their throat. You never see any analysis on mechanics or design choices of the games that are shown. They are usually just handling awards purely based on popularity, and when their personal favorite doesn't win, they ignore the popularity contest and make sure to pick it manually.
And now, the Game of the Year award goes to The Last of Us Part 2.
I'm obviously talking about the Game of the Year, which is what most morons are waiting to see, when in reality there isn't even such a thing as Game of the Year. For example, if a 10 out of 10 RPG and a 10 out of 10 platformer come out in the same year, they are pretty much both equally good. There isn't much of a point comparing them, because they have done the best they could at their own genre. A Game of the Year should only be a possibility when only one extraordinarily great game comes out that puts everything else to shame, like a game that would really push the boundaries of everything we've seen, and that pretty much never happens. We can see on the list at least 2 great games that were pretty innovative, one being Baldur's Gate 3, the game that pushed the classic RPG genre by turning them from books to movies, where instead of reading tons of text, we see actual cutscenes of everything that's happening.
I require good!
So while it's a game that definitely deserves some kind of an award, its boring combat makes it unworthy of being on this list. The other great game we see is Super Mario Bros. Wonder. It takes everything great from the classic 2D platformers and adds great effects that directly affect the gameplay, making the levels more fun, visually pleasing, and adds replay value. So I want to believe Mario Bros. Wonder was a first step towards an idea, and we will probably see this thing on a way greater scale in a similar 3D game. Like, imagine Super Mario 3D World with every level having some kind of Wonder Flower effect. So yeah, Super Mario Bros. Wonder is objectively the best game on this list, because even though it's just a simple 2D platformer, it does nothing wrong. It pretty much has no flaws. I guess the only flaw I could see was the multiplayer being way too easy. I think playing this game on 2-player mode should remove the checkpoints, making it slightly harder, and on a 3+ player mode there should be no checkpoints and each character should die on one hit even with a power up. That would probably kind of fix the challenge on multiplayer. The next best games on this list are Tears of the Kingdom and Resident Evil 4. Now both of those are good games, but they have lots of flaws. Resident Evil 4 is just a remake, and while it did manage to improve the gameplay a lot, it also simultaneously managed to ruin it in many ways. For example, staggering the enemies being inconsistent was a stupid idea, and the field of view with this camera, along with making Leon slow, doesn't work really well for a game that became so much more fast-paced. Zelda Tears of the Kingdom also feels more like a DLC. It definitely added a lot more options, but they don't really mean that much. You can build a couple of broken things and dominate the game easily. The same goes for Traversal too. You don't need to climb anywhere anymore. You can easily just fly, and the game generally is just way too easy. You pretty much can't die, cause you can heal yourself indefinitely. So while it's a good game, it still has many flaws to be considered one of the best of this year. Alan Wake 2 is pretty mediocre. It has a great atmosphere and it gets very interesting at times, but also gets very boring at other times. The gameplay along with the camera as well could have been much better. Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is also a joke. It's worse than Spider-Man 2018 in almost every single way. The gameplay is pretty much similar, which is a good thing, that's one thing it did right, but it has too many bugs, or at least it used to have when it launched, but the game has way deeper problems than that. The writing is horrible, the story is horrible, lots of the side quests are horrible, and there is no point in having good gameplay if you are not allowing the player to enjoy it. The game is constantly interrupted by cutscenes, shitty minigames, and terribly long walking sections. If all that was skippable, it would have been a way better game.